My journey to priesthood began probably in the early years of high school. Growing up, I had enjoyed going to Mass, but about 7th, 8th grade, freshman year, I really started to dislike going and would sometimes even complain about going to Mass on the weekends. It was about that time that my dad gave me an article to read from a Catholic periodical, and it really challenged my beliefs on the Eucharist. You know, at that point in early high school, I already knew that as Catholics we have an obligation to attend Mass on Sundays and on holy days, and that a big part of that obligation was our belief in Jesus' real presence in the Eucharist. Namely that the bread and wine on the altar midway through the Mass cease to be bread and wine and become Jesus himself. Well, I knew that I believed that when I made my first Holy Communion way back in 2nd grade, but I wasn't sure I believed that anymore. And so I thought, I've got to figure this out, because if I don't believe in that, I'm not sure as I get older that I want to be a part of this faith, if I disagree with such a central tenet of this faith. But if I do believe it, I'm going to have to take my faith a little bit more seriously. Well, I went into a period of really praying and doing a lot of spiritual reading, just to try to figure out if I believed in Jesus' real presence in the Eucharist or not. And I would go into church a lot and just tell the Lord, help me to know if that's you in the tabernacle, if you even exist at all. And after a period of that prayer and study, I really came to believe that the Eucharist really is Jesus himself. And that really changed everything for me. It was really my first experience of grace, in the sense that, I began to think of how all those years I'd been complaining about going to Mass. It was like the King of the universe was offering his very self to me every weekend, and I was saying, no, I'm not really interested. And he would respond by the next weekend offering himself yet again, and I would say, I'm not really interested. And finally, like it always is, at some point we get so miserable that we turn back to him just out of agony, out of pain. And when we turn back to him, it's like we were never away. He's so eager to welcome us. Well, after coming to believe really powerfully and experience Jesus' love in the Eucharist, I began to go to Mass daily whenever I could. And it just felt like the right vocation for me would be the one that's so closely connected to the Eucharist, where I could give the Eucharist to others. Coming to believe that Jesus is really present under the appearances of bread and wine, and feeling his love for me there, and then wanting to share that same gift of the Holy Eucharist with others, was a huge motivation for me to become a priest, and it continues to bring me great, great joy as a priest.